So this is my second video talking around how I left my full-time job at the age of 36 with 2 kids and a mortgage and a wife, and then transitioned and set up my own business while mitigating as much risk as possible. That's what all of this channel is about. So in the first video, I introduced myself. In this video, I wanted to talk around how do you niche down and pinpoint, this is it. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Well, the first thing to say is it doesn't need to be for the rest of your life. Now, I know that sounds obvious, but it's something really fundamental that you've got to understand and hold inside. What you decide to do at the start doesn't need to make it straight away. And it doesn't need to make it at all. Sometimes you will pivot. Sometimes you will decide it's not for me anymore. I'm not enjoying it. Sometimes once you start down a certain path, it opens up different doors that you find much more enticing, and you would have never have gotten there had you not started in the first place. So this might sound odd, but my recommendation to everyone that asks me, how do you start, is to start with something. It really doesn't matter what it is, but what you'll do is clear out the cobwebs to find what it is that you're really wanting to do, if you don't already know that, of course. Now, one of the most common ones that you could start with is something that you already do. Maybe it's your job already, maybe it's something that you do as a hobby, maybe it's something that you're just interested in learning and you've just never really taken that step forward. Whatever it is, starting to create material, maybe social media posts, or starting to talk to other people about it, or starting to teach even friends or family, is a really good first step, because within the first few weeks, you will probably work out, is this something that was just interesting to me, but actually I don't find it that enjoyable in the long run, or I'm not actually that enthused by it. Working that out early on might save you a lot of heartache. But what I wanted to talk through in this video is a really well-known model to help you narrow down and decide on at least some of the things that you could potentially make a go of. And this is called the Ikagai model. Apologies if that's the wrong pronunciation. But what this model does is look at the 4 main components that drive people in their jobs and what they want to do in the world, and narrow them down further. So rather than me waffle on about it, I'll pop it up on the screen and we can start talking through it. So as you can see on the screen, on the outside, the 4 things that you need to begin with to find your why, your purpose in life, what you want to do with it, are as follows. Something that you love doing, something that the world needs, something that you can be paid for, and something that you're inherently good at as well. Maybe not inherently, maybe you're well practiced at it, but something that you're good at. And then these words in the intersections as well. So if you can combine something that you love and the world needs it, maybe you see it as a mission, something to achieve that provides value to the world and makes it a better place. In between what you're paid for and good at is a profession, and that could be absolutely any job in the world, really. And then in between what you're good at and what you love is your passion. Now, many people will say, follow your passion, follow what you love, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Here's something to think about. What often happens is your passion becomes a slog. A lot of the time, when you're working on your own business, it is not exciting. It is tiring, it has stress attached to it, and there are many days where you won't want to do it. And so if you pursue a hobby, something that you're passionate about and want to turn it into work, number 1, it can work. I would never say don't do that. You've just got to be mindful of number 2, you might lose your passion. You might fall out of love with something that you really enjoyed and not want to do it anymore. So just be careful. And I thought what would be helpful is to just have a quick look at pros and cons of following each of these different categories. So if you decided to follow a passion, yes, you'd be engaged, you'd be interested, you've got all of the talents leading to high satisfaction, and you'd be motivated most days. This is great because motivation is not always easy to come by when you're working long hours. You can develop personally, you can enjoy honing your skill, you become a master at it, maybe without having to put in too much effort or think about it. And inherently, it feels rewarding to follow a passion, something that you're already doing in your free time anyway. But what about the drawbacks? What about the cons of following your passion? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can fall out of love with it. And something that used to recharge you and help you switch off at the end of the day now is a slog and may actually really dislike it. Another one, your passion may not be anyone else's passion, and so you might struggle to find work in this. If it's a very small community, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes small communities will pay a premium because there's not many people that can teach them those things. But if people do your passion and they don't normally pay a lot for it, then you might be always chasing your tail with that. So what about a mission then, where it intersects what you love and what the world needs? This can be so fulfilling. It drives many of those deep innate human needs and motivation factors. The feeling that you could create a community that supports other people in some way, improves their lives, improves their well-being, meets a bigger picture in society somehow. Great examples of this are things like not-for-profit organisations, community interest companies. Why do people go and volunteer in places that are not safe? That they risk their own lives, like Doctors Without Borders or the Red Cross or people that go into active war zones to support other people. And they may not even be paid for it. They're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's a mission, it's a calling. Now, if you can monetize that, then it's likely that you'll be driven for the rest of your life to achieve that greater impact that you're after. However, monetizing a mission, not necessarily easy to do. And it can feel overwhelming if you've put out there, this is my mission, this is what I want to achieve, and people go, yes, please help us do that, but we're not going to pay you because we can't. You've then got to find other financial means to support you being able to do that mission. The third one, a profession, what most people do. Yes, you're paid for it. Sometimes it can be paid really well. You're meeting a service or a person's needs. Brilliant, but it can feel very unfulfilling for many people. So quick change of clothing, because my battery ran out as I was filming and we're on another day now, so I'm dressed differently. Now, typically this is the most financially stable spot to be in. Something between something that you're good at doing and something that people are willing to pay for. Think an electrician or a plumber, something like that. They can do this for a very, very long time. Does it inspire people? Not as often. We'll say. There are definitely some people that do. Now, here's an interesting thing. This came out of a book called Drive by Dan Pink. Now, the piece of research that I'm going to reference isn't the book itself. It's just talked about in the book. And I can't remember who was the actual person that discovered it. But what they found was that within some professions, people don't start out feeling intrinsically motivated by them. But what they do is they discover a sense of purpose and mastery of that job, of that profession as they go through. And the example in the book is someone that may work in some type of administrative job. They probably didn't wake up in the morning going, do you know what, I love this and this is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my career. They probably didn't want to do it growing up. But at some point doing it, they found some type of passion for it. So there is definitely something in that. If you're not entirely sure what you want to do, many people struggle to know, do you know what, I don't think I really love anything. There isn't anything I imagine myself doing. So one of the options for those people is, well, pick something that you're good at and people are willing to pay for, and then learn to love it as you master the art of it. And therefore the last one is vocation, something that occurs between something that people are willing to pay for and what the world needs. Now, if you can find something that people are willing to pay for and they desperately need it, this is certainly something that can grow So if you're more interested in growing a business and scaling it quickly, then what you want is something in this category. You may not love it, but what you may find is a love for the growth of the business, pushing it forward. So it's not the actual product that you sell or the service, but it's the running of the business. Many CEOs I talk to find themselves in this category. Do they love their product? Well, they'll say yes, but you can see there's not quite a twinkle in their eye. But what they do love is the business itself, the running of it, working with people, leading people, strategic planning, and all of those things. So if you can find something in this category, you may well be set for life. But the downside of that, again, it's less likely to be something that you really love deep down. So that is that's one of the theoretical models that you can look at. And there's a book that goes along with it. It's very interesting and it will give you a lot of pause for thought and really help you reflect. And what it may do is help you work out exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. However, should be a star next to that, which is you don't have to do anything for the rest of your life. And you don't have to work it out straight away. Now, I think I mentioned this at the start of the video, but if not, I'm going to say it again anyway. It can be very normal, and this is exactly how I did it, to try out multiple things before you end up settling on something that's really working for you. So as much as I've done this for a very long time, it wasn't actually the first option that I picked of trying something out. I focused on a few other things first, and I did them for a few months and was like, it's just not doing it for me. And it was fun for the first month or so, and I did all sorts of different things, but I knew I couldn't sustain it. And so what I ended up doing was coming back to something that I know very well and had already been doing for a long time and thought, you know what, let's really double down on what I'm good at and what people will pay me for. And so in other words, I decided to craft out my career as a profession. I enjoy learning about this topic. I have a lot of knowledge around it. I enjoy supporting others in developing those skills, and people are willing to pay me for that. And there's a need for it out there in the world. So it is a profession and a bit of a vocation as well. But my recommendation to you is try things out. And the easiest way to do that nowadays is with a social media platform. Just start making content about something. And after a few weeks, if you're not seeing any interest in it, maybe it's because people don't want to watch it, or maybe it's that you've not gained traction yet, or maybe that you're running out of steam. Whatever it is, after a few weeks or months, you can stop it, delete your account, start another one. There's no harm in testing these things out. And what you'll find is one of them will stick for you, and you will have joy in making the content. You'll enjoy talking about it. You'll want to do more work on it. You'll be thinking about it when you're in your downtime. And when you find something like that, that is a great inclination. You're heading in the right direction.